What? Guys, I wanted to review The Matrix Resurrections, aka The Matrix 4, aka a film that I don't think anyone has problems with on the internet. I wanted to go ahead and review that movie, but I had to do something first. There was one thing that was missing before I could come on here onto my own YouTube channel and review The Matrix Resurrections. I had to watch the first three.
6 hours later.
This is crazy. This is maybe weird for some people watching this video, if anybody watches it, but I've never seen the Matrix trilogy. Well, I have now, but 24 hours ago, I hadn't. So I binged all of them. I binged all of them back to back to back, then took some sleep, came here to the studio today, aka my room, and watched Matrix Resurrection. So I'm not going to be talking about that. Okay, that's going to get its own separate review. Okay, that's going to get its own separate little review because I think it's worthy of its own. But I wanted to go ahead and give you what the title and thumbnail probably says: the brutally honest review of the Matrix trilogy. And that's probably it because YouTube retention and audiences and stuff. Or I could title it, first time watching The Matrix. Wow, crazy. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay, spoilers. Spoilers ahead, motherfuckers, of a franchise that's 20 plus years old now, with 1999. And my God, The Matrix was fucking awesome. So I did a little research. Watched a couple videos on The Matrix after I was done, obviously, because I just got done watching The Matrix for the first time, and found the original advertising, the original marketing didn't really advertise what The Matrix was about, and my God, that opens up a wonderful conversation about movies now, what we share and spoil in trailers. Sony, there's so many things that get lost in translation or lost in the filmmaker's mind when we just throw things out for marketing. It's beautiful that The Matrix wasn't really spoiled for people because going in, they didn't know what The Matrix was, much like our characters. That makes it even cooler. So let's just talk about The Matrix, obviously. If you look at the time codes below, you'll probably see what I talk about the other two movies. But The Matrix was fantastic. Obviously, Neo with the One, Morpheus, Trinity, Agent Smith, the Oracle, The Matrix itself, the introduction to the prophecy, learning about Zion, hearing about the last human city, waking up in these pods, and all this awesome practical effects mixed in with some of the best CGI from that time. Guys, The Matrix 1 is, I think, the best looking Matrix movie. That comes down to the color grading of the scenes between the Matrix and the real life stuff with that green color grading. And you can see Neo, our boy Keanu Reeves, has a bit of green 5 o'clock shadow, a bit of a green tint there. And I really love all of the little aspects of the filmmaking process, bringing this whole idea to life. So all of the really cool stuff with the practical makeup, learning about like how Keanu got skinny and shaved his head and did all these, funny things that we don't really see nowadays. It's really just like, okay, who went to the gym, who got buff, that's really nowadays. But like, just seeing all these different practical things mixed in, it's just awesome. The cinematography, the action scenes are monumental in this movie. The influence obviously throughout the rest of time is insane. Obviously I've seen some of the fights from them. I know about The Matrix. I basically got spoiled about everything about The Matrix without seeing them, so it's not like I'm fully blind here, much like Neo and what was it, Revelations? Yeah, I'm not blind like that, Neo. Spoiler alert. No, this is just me kind of like experiencing the actual story for the first time, and it was just honestly a blast. I can't help but just be spring-loaded with all of this detail that I want to talk about, but the actual story focusing in there is really solid. There's a lot of really cool sci-fi elements here. The way the trajectory of the story works, the way the scenes are broken down, the way we're introduced to each character, Neo, and just, I think Keanu was the best casting for a character like this. He's very whoa, I know Kung Fu. He's that kind of like laid back performance at the same time still pulling off being an action star and doing a lot of his own stunts. I really like Keanu in this role. I think he's fantastic. Movie series I want to review is John Wick down the line. I would love to review those movies at some point. Which, by the way, subscribe, stick around, because we're going to be doing our 2022 channel video coming up very soon. And also, I think this video or my Matrix Resurrections video could be the last video before 2022, or it could be the start of 2022. So just to give you guys a little channel update there. But this movie just really breaks down a lot of different things. You know, we could talk about the imagery and themes of trans identity, you know, identity and gender, where we have the character Switch, you know, who is going to be different going into the Matrix and then out of the Matrix because of your self-identification, your self-actualization. We could talk about the directors and what they went through in their journey in the same boat there. That would be awesome. I think that's something I think maybe other channels are better at than me, because I feel like I'm very fast-paced and just kind of go. But I love the idea of the trans identity being a big part of the Matrix, because it is prevalent. It is very there, and it's awesome. I love when we play to that kind of theme and stuff like that, because, you know, maybe someone might not get that the first time around, but going in a second time or third time, or just that overall knowledge of the directors also about what's going on with those characters behind the scenes stuff. I think that is very awesome in itself. The actual trans identity and everything that kind of goes into that is really awesome. It's a wonderful aspect of the film, kind of just looking in. We also have the ideas and themes of fate, destiny, and choice. You know, what is humanity? What is reality? What is real? This movie, even though I knew what was going on, I'm sitting there going, is this real? Is this my own kind of prison? Is my studio space in this room, is it reality? You know, it makes you ponder those questions, even though you know you're watching fiction. And something like The Matrix Resurrection actually does that quite well. It brings that topic up again 20 years later, and I think they nailed that part of that movie, and that perfectly ties this movie directly into that one, and I think that's wonderful. But the world of the Matrix is really awesome. I love all those just different aspects. Trinity is fantastic. I absolutely love Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity. This was a character I didn't know much about. Obviously, all I knew really was Neo during the trilogy, because that's really all I really heard about online. But I really love Trinity. I think she's a badass, man. I fucking love the action scenes with Trinity across this trilogy. She's fantastic, but I still think her best movie is... I know that's controversial, because I know a lot of people online do not like Matrix Resurrection, but I do. A little spoiler alert there, but mainly what I love about the Matrix 1 is the setups, the wonderful payoffs of the action scenes, phenomenal performances. You know, you got Hugo Weaving, Carrie-Anne Moss, like I said, Lawrence Fishburne as motherfucking Morpheus, Keanu Reeves. This movie is just star-studded, beautiful performances, wonderful action, great cinematography, a nice bond between Agent Smith and our boy Neo going forward, revolutionizing action as it is. The score is beautiful, the shot composition, the color grading, everything you want out of a movie is in this movie. If I could give this movie an 11 out of 10, I would, and I will. It is an incredible movie. I absolutely love The Matrix. I love all of its themes, all of the things it's going for, and just the direction and the writing. My God, the Wachowskis just understand everything. They get it. So let's talk about Reloaded. Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revelations were filmed at the exact same time. And that's easy to tell with the way the sets work, the way the characters act, the performances. It's very transparent that these were filmed back to back, and that's not necessarily an issue. It's just something that I noticed while viewing it. But that isn't like the biggest deal, and I don't think if you didn't know that or whatever, it really doesn't matter. It's not even a critique. It's just something that I noticed that I wanted to tell you. But The Matrix 2 opens up in just the weirdest way possible. I'm sorry. It was super weird for me, because when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I'm done with The Matrix. Go take a poop. Go take a shower. Wearing all my little doodad details. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. You know, we got to do Reloaded, then Revelations. And then I'm like, wait, is Revelations second or is Reloaded? And I was getting so goddamn confused. And so when I jumped in to Reloaded, and we're just at Zion, and we're just there, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Where? What? And that dude's like, hey, Neo, you saved my life, man. And I was like, well, I didn't know that happened. It was weird. It was a bit jarring, and I won't lie, it was just weird. It was just really weird. You know, it kind of came out of nowhere. At least it feel like it came out of nowhere. But once we started getting the journey going, once we learned a bit more about the architect, we got the keymaster, we got all these different stuff with the Oracle, and you know, Agent Smith's coming out of the woodworks, and now he can copy all these people and shit. Like, it's weird. There's a lot of different elements here, but it's still enjoyable. Let's talk about the PS2 graphics for a bit. The CGI is definitely worse in this movie. It definitely is. Now, when it comes to the Sentinels and the machines itself, I still find a lot of enjoyment in those. And the animatronics with the machines and stuff, yeah, it's a little wonky here and there with the visual effects. But for me, if the visual effects, I would rather have worse visual effects and like cooler fight scenes than like great VFX, but nothing. There's no substance to it, I guess. And that's a little weird to say, especially in a movie like this, because the Agent Smith fight scene is fucking terrible. I'm not really talking about that one. I think I'm talking about the one at the end, but also that could be in Revelations. I'm talking about the one where the kid we know from this movie, in the opening scene that I just talked about, I don't remember their name, they're in that mech suit and they're like, bam, 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 bam. That looked fucking awesome while looking like shit at the same time. I can't remember if that's in this movie or Revelations because of the big Zion fight and the end of the war. But at least that looked good. But the Agent Smith fight in the first third, when he meets the Oracle again, and they're at that like playground thing, that fight was fucking terrible. Terrible fight. Absolutely hated it. So let's move on from that. Let's talk about this motherfucker, like the French dude. I don't remember his name, but honestly, that performance was just so weird. Honestly. But I kind of loved it at the same time. Like, they really leaned into the goofiness of this movie a lot more. And honestly, like, I kind of liked it. It was, like, really funny. But it was weird. It was weird. This movie just decided to do the weirdest things sometimes, where they put their focus in just the weirdest spots. Like, when we go and find this whole Keymaster and do all this kind of stuff, like, it's interesting, but it's just weird at the same time. But I enjoyed it. The scene where we get the, and then that was weird. I won't lie. I was kind of getting uncomfortable when I was sitting there, and it's just like, oh yeah, talking about the dessert and eating that, and then makes you horny. I gotta go have some of that cake real quick. I'll be right. I'll be right back. I really don't know how to transition from here to there. But let's talk about some good action scenes. After the Keymaster stuff happens and they're doing the doobity boobie and they're like, what? We're meeting up. And now I gotta do some sword fight and some really cool stunt work in this really cool area where there's like this, and then there's the upstairs, and then this is where the fight got really cool. So guys, this is what you get on my channel. When you see Keanu Reeves and he's just like bam, bam, and he's like bam, and he's like whoa, and then he's like whoa, and then like all the other stunt guys are going wah, and then they're going wah, you know what I'm talking about? And then they're like, and then they're like wah, and they're like wah, and he does that thing. That was awesome. That was cinema, baby. Yes, I loved it. I really did. I loved that action scene in Matrix Reloaded. It honestly made it one of the best scenes of the film. Okay, loved it. And then there was also, with the Keymaster, this awesome scene with Trinity on this, like, I guess they built like a bunch of roads, like a highway. They made like a highway to do this scene on, and it was super sick, man. It was really cool action with Morpheus, beating up these agents, because at the end of the first Matrix, it's like a big deal that Neo fights Agent Smith, which is something I mentioned earlier. But now everyone can just fight an agent. It's a little something else, but it's really enjoyable. And more the realistic action, I should say, the more practical in-camera stuff is the best. It's wonderful. Honestly, I'm a big fan. But yeah, basically the story's a little convoluted. When we get to the architect, it's weird that Neo's an anomaly and is the sixth anomaly. And we get that whole sequence of like what other versions would have said. And then, you know, this talks about the dream. This continues the themes of the first movie about destiny, you know, fate, choice. And this leads into the whole dream aspect of the movie where Neo keeps seeing Trinity die, but he doesn't see her fully die. And so this leads him to a choice with the architect, talking about humanity, talking about the Matrix and all these anomalies, which are the one, which is Neo, that connects to the first movie, about the other one, the first one who freed all of humanity. I'd love to see that story sometime. I'm not sure if that's been adapted, but I'd love to see that. But this leads into the choice. You know, every film has a choice, and this one is to either go back in, do the things, and kind of get the, you know, fucking loop going again, or you can go save Trinity. And guys, I'm gonna do it again. Seeing Neo just fly across the screen and just like woo, woo, and he's like, and buildings are going by, and he goes and Trinity's falling like this, and she's like, I got shot where I got shot at in the first part of the movie, and then he just goes, and then they're like, she's dead. I was like, no, dude. Then they're like, you're not dead. Nice. And it was like, it was just cool. You know, it was early 2000s, but I loved it. There's so many weird elements of Matrix Reloaded. I can't deny that. I can't deny the problems of this movie. It's a significant downgrade from the first Matrix. But I still had a really fucking good time. I really did. Let's talk about Matrix Revelations. I got the title wrong. It's Revolutions. It's not Revelations. It's Revolutions. Look, let's not talk about it, okay? Let's not talk about that. This was my first time watching this trilogy, okay? I apologize to all of my Matrix Revolutions fans. I apologize to you that I think this is the worst of the trilogy. And honestly, like, it was so weird. I was kind of not as interested in this one, really. Let's talk about the things that I did like. I actually really enjoyed, and I'm not sure if this is controversial or not, but I really enjoyed Agent Smith's whole arc. I did. I loved his sentience. I loved that connection from the first film. I love how dirty and rainy and gross the final act was. Like that final fight between Agent Smith and Neo. That whole thing was awesome. Seeing Neo just transformed by the end of this trilogy, that is where the strength is. I love Trinity still. I love Morpheus. I love Agent Smith and Neo. All of that stuff is fantastic. But somewhere, some way across the line, I could barely tell you what this movie was about. All I remember is that The Matrix Revolutions wraps up the trilogy, and Neo becomes God of gods, and Trinity dies in this film. And maybe that wasn't the greatest of choices, because the entire last movie was about how we need to save Trinity, and then you kill Trinity at the end of the trilogy. A bit weird. That may be by like one of the only things where I'm like, did we really need to do that? Did we really need to do that? But it's okay. Because I still found enjoyment in this film. I still love it. The action that's in camera is wonderful. The end fight is really good. I really just enjoy some elements of this movie. The GIMP stuff with the whole that dude again certainly was an interesting scene, I'll tell you that. For some reason, I was excited to see him again. I'm like, oh, are we gonna bring that back? What are we gonna do with that? But this movie just fell into some weird pacing issues for me. The action was a little nonsensical by the end. I was getting a little confused. But like I said, when the stuff's in the camera, that one final fight with the mech suit was interesting. Seeing Neo blinded at this point and learning to go beyond that, and he still has his sight in a way. The way that's visualized is really cool. The Deus Ex Machina kind of deal with the Matrix to kind of get rid of the Agent Smith virus was fun. I thought it was very 2003. I cannot believe this movie came out a year after Spider-Man 1. That is just fucking incredible to think about outside of the whole movie in general. But while this film lacked a lot of the heart and I'd say soul of the first one, I still managed to just the Agent Smith and Neo stuff was surprisingly like really compelling for me. Seeing Zion in this last moment, this last ditch effort to end the war was really fucking interesting. Is it super convoluted? Is it super kind of ridiculous and like insane? Yeah, it is. But I kind of fucking liked it. The ending was awesome. I love the ending. I don't know if that's something that other people agree or disagree on, but I really enjoyed the actual ending, wrapping up the narrative of Matrix Revolutions, killing off Neo, kind of giving us that last Jesus metaphor of sacrificing himself for then all of Zion and giving them that kind of new hope. You know, there's a lot of Jesus metaphors, there's a lot of identity metaphors and themes and ideologies and fate, destiny choices across this trilogy. The constants have been the performances. I really enjoy this core cast that we've gotten over the trilogy. I thought it was very good. I think the ups and downs, the twists and turns, some could be predictable, some could not. I think they more than often worked. I feel like as each film went along, the CGI action got worse, but the actual set pieces and the ideas they were going for was super big at the time that I kind of got to give them a lot of admiration for at least trying it. So there's a lot of positives in the negatives here, but I will say I don't think they really nailed the score more than they did in the first one. The third one I feel like got there a bit. I feel like 2, I forget the most of the music in that. But I feel like 1 and 3 actually surprisingly had the better of the soundtracks. 1, of course, being The King. It's an 11 out of 10 film, so let's go ahead and rank the other ones. I said Reloaded is maybe a 6. Maybe a 5, and then Matrix Revolutions is like a 4, maybe a 3, but man, that ending was awesome. So the actual just narrative, not critiquing the films, I did enjoy the trilogy. I thought it was actually very entertaining. I was a big fan of a lot of the really cool aspects. I get to understand a bit more of how influential this franchise has been over the last 20 years and how much it will be down the line. This wasn't a full breakdown of all the movies. It was just my general thoughts of, I just went on this fucking 6 to 7 hour journey and I need to talk about it. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Matrix Resurrections in the next Matrix video I'll be doing. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the franchise now, so let's go ahead and review number 4. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It has definitely been sporadic. I will say that. I'm not sure how tired or lazy I'll be in the edit, but I'm happy and thankful for all of those who are here now at the very end of the video. Thank you for sticking with this journey with me, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.